If you are watching this video, then that can only mean one thing. I am on vacation. I'm so sorry. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. It's been 5 years since I Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. It's been 5 years. I deserve one vacation. Please, Grossi. And today, we are going to be talking about the 5 NFL teams that need to absolutely crush the 2024 NFL draft. And before you ask, Tom, don't all teams need to draft well? Apparently not the Chiefs. But as we get closer to the NFL draft, I think it's kind of important to take a look at some teams who have a lot on the line. And this is going to range from teams who have really early picks and some that are contenders and just need to get over the hump. And there's kind of just a hodgepodge of teams here. And before we get to the top 5, I did want to do some honorable mentions here. The first team that I think needs to have a really good draft is actually the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, of course, having a big free agency, bringing in free agent Kirk Cousins to hopefully be their savior, giving him a pretty sizable contract, and now there's kind of no excuse for the Falcons, in which they actually almost won the division last year. I feel like their defense the past few years has been like really good at some points and then really bad at others, and I'm just hoping that with new head coach Raheem Morris and with Kirk Cousins, they can finally put it all together. Now, the reason they need to draft really well is because now they need to take advantage of actually having a quarterback. Sorry, Desmond Ridder, didn't mean any particular shade, but getting their new head coach, getting a new quarterback, they have Kyle Pitts, who hopefully will actually get targeted a little bit. They have some playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, their running game should be really, really good, and I think that this draft could put them over the top, not only just to seal off the division, but potentially making a deep playoff run. I don't think the Falcons are there just yet, but I think this draft could potentially turn the tide. Another honorable mention here has to be the purple incarnation of Satan, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, they're in a precarious position right now, and unless literally news has broken while I've been gone for one day, they haven't traded up yet in the draft. They have 2 first-round picks. That trade is coming any day now. It might be happening already while I'm relaxing. And then I get a notification. And then I am torn. Do I continue vacation, or do I go back to work? And you all know what the answer is going to be. And of course, it's going to be the purple incarnation of Satan that's going to ruin my vacation because they're evil. They stole Aaron Jones from me.
They stole it from us.
But anyway, the Vikings need a fracking quarterback. And if they are going to trade up into potentially the top 5, they need to hit on that quarterback because they're giving up a sizable amount to go and get a guy. Now, their offense, I think, will be pretty darn solid. Justin Jefferson, I don't think, is going anywhere. Their defense, I think, will be improved like it was last year. I don't think it's all the way there yet. But, of course, the number one position here is going to be quarterback, and that could set the stage for how good or bad the Vikings will be for the next few years. So, of course, I'm hoping it's terrible. And then finally, for honorable mentions, at number 3, you got the Washington Commanders. New ownership last year, and now you got a fracking draft. They hold the number 2 overall spot, and they're going to have a choice of anybody besides Caleb Williams. Now, they could go with a Jaden Daniels, they could go with a Drake May, and I think, well, while they definitely need to fill other roles, like offensive line, for example, they need to replace their secondary, looking at edge rusher. I do think if a guy like Jaden Daniels comes in and plays pretty well, he's going to be able to cover up a lot of glaring holes right now on that offense. And listen, I love Scary Terry. I wish him absolutely nothing but the best. I hope that he gets a really good quarterback to throw him the ball. The Commanders could take a leap this year if they strike gold in this draft, and that's why it means a lot to them, and they're an honorable mention. So let's get to this list, shall we? Starting off with number 5. You got the Dallas Cowboys. Oh boy. The Cowboys sitting at number 24 after getting booted in the wild card round by the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. And the reason why the Cowboys are on this list is pretty obvious, right? Dak Prescott is in a potential contract year because we'll see if they extend him before the year. I don't think that's going to happen based on everything I've heard, but you never know. But the Cowboys window is getting this is closing a little bit more every single day. They went out and drafted defensive line last year. They desperately need linebackers to hopefully stop the run. I know they got Kendricks, but I think that's just a stopgap for now. And the Cowboys, they're the team that does really well in the regular season, and as soon as it gets into the playoffs, they poop the bed. They need to find a way to not do that. And it's going to start with hitting on the draft. Mike McCarthy's seat is getting very, very warm. Dak Prescott's future is unknown. And even though Jerry Jones said he was going all in,
My ass.
they might have to make a big splash in the draft to fulfill that promise of going all in. But honestly, they just need to draft really well. Because otherwise, I think the short-term future for the Cowboys is a little bit uncertain. And yeah, things could get really ugly in Dallas. So with that, you're on the list. Number 4, you got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills sitting at pick number 28 in the first round, and it's not just about their first round pick. They need to hit on multiple aspects of this draft. The Bills, of course, getting bounced by the Kansas City Chiefs yet again, this time in the divisional round, and things are just sad. Stephon Diggs, of course, getting traded to the Texans, which I think ultimately is going to be a pretty good move for the Bills. And I'm not saying that's because Stephon Diggs is going to be bad for the Texans. I think that obviously that relationship just wasn't working out anymore. He wasn't really being productive for the Bills, especially at that back half of last season. And so now they really need a wide receiver. But that's not all, because during free agency, they lost a ton of guys. A lot of them were aging veteran players, but they have some not friendly contracts. They're taking on a bunch of dead money this year, and they just need to have a good draft to kind of give their fans some hope that they are going to be able to keep that window open. Now, Josh Allen, you'll always be competitive. However, that division, I don't think it's getting particularly easier. If the Patriots hit on the quarterback, they'll be on the up and up. The Dolphins, well, who knows what they're going to do. The Bills are probably still going to beat them twice. Sorry, Miami, just prove me wrong. And the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers could stay healthy, he'll be all right. So the Bills just need to draft well. They need to get a wide receiver. They need to replenish that defense. And yeah, this could hopefully be the start of the new window opening for the Bills, but it's starting in April with the draft. Number 3, you got the New England Patriots holding the 3rd overall pick in the draft, and the Patriots are in a weird spot. Of course, no more Bill Belichick. He is gone. Farewell. Take care. I think their defense is still going to be pretty solid, but that offense, just burn it to the ground. And it's going to start with, what do they want to address? Do they want to go get a franchise QB, but their guy may be taken by the time they pick at number 3? Or do they go get a wide receiver that they desperately need? Because right now, KJ Osborne, who I think he's a good receiver, I don't think he's going to be your wide receiver 1. So they have decisions they need to make. They need a better offensive line. They need a better run game. They just need pretty much everything on the offensive side of the ball. But it's really important for the Patriots because for a while now, they have not been a great football team. And to kind of get back to their winning ways, it's going to start with this draft. They have a top 5 pick. They could go get a franchise QB. And if they hit on them, just like other teams, it's going to cover a lot of the problems with that offense. So the Patriots are still trying to replace Tom Brady. Let's see if they're able to do it in this draft. Number 2, you got the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, well, they've been going through it the past couple years. If you don't believe me, just watch That's Good Sports and Brandon Perna.
Flashbacks, PTSD, no.
But the Broncos, they need to really nail this draft because otherwise it's going to be a problem. And the other issue is that they're sitting at number 12. Jarrett Stidham is currently going to be their QB1. Are they going to trade up? If they do trade up, how much are they going to have to give up to do so? Are they going to go up and get a guy like J.J. McCarthy? Of course, Russell Wilson going to the Steelers, leaving a whole bunch of dead cap for the Broncos. They're trying to turn the page. And so now this is Sean Payton's team. And if they don't get a QB, I don't think it's the end of the world, but it's also telling your fans like, hey, we're not going to be good this year, but maybe they'll set them up for a high draft pick next year and they can kind of fill some holes in on that team because they need to address wide receiver, looking at their offensive line a little bit. But yeah, the Broncos, they just need some positivity. The Russell Wilson trade absolutely blew up in their face. You got to hope that Sean Payton is the guy to steer the ship back to your winning ways. And it starts in April with the draft. And yeah, let's just hope this ride is a little bit smoother than the last one. And finally, the team with the most amount of pressure to frickin' frack and draft well, the Chicago Bears. Let's talk about the Bears, because it's obvious, right? They're going to get Caleb Williams. They got to hit on Caleb Williams. It didn't work out with Justin Fields. It didn't work out with Mitch Trubisky before that. And Caleb Williams is going into a better position than either of those QBs were. However, they need to make this work. On top of that, they only have 4 draft picks. Now, it does help that 2 of them are in the top 10, so they're going to be able to address some significant needs. But the Bears, they need this to work because they have not developed a quarterback in a really, really long time. Jay Cutler was their last really good quarterback, and they traded for Jay Cutler. And so if you want your fans to have any hope in the future, this has to work out. Justin Fields, when he was drafted, he was the Messiah. Chicago thought they were going to be saved, and instead, how many games did they win against the NFC North? 1. I know wins are not QB stats, but it's real bad. And so the Bears, with only 4 draft picks, are going to be limited on what they can do. They do have opportunities to maybe trade down from that number 9 spot and replenish their draft capital. Maybe that's a plan, but right now, they're going to go get Caleb Williams. They got to pray that they can develop him. They got Keenan Allen, I think is going to help at least for 1 year. And from there, yeah, let's see if the misery ends for you, Chicago. Personally, I hope not. And so just to recap, number 1, you got the Bears. 2, you got the Broncos. 3, you got the Patriots. 4, the Bills. And 5, the Cowboys. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Which teams absolutely need to nail this draft? Let me know. You guys saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.